Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
We were asked if we wanted to review anything else at the French Film Festival, and we were offered some free tickets to anything we chose. So I selected this one, which sounded the most interesting to me based on the little blurb, and I turned out to have been right, which is great. Chien 51, Dog 51 for English speakers, is directed by Cédric Jiménez, who also directed, amongst others, Back Nord, a film about police officers handling like tough neighborhoods in Marseille. You'll be able to see a kind of through line appearing when I explain the premise of this film. Chien 51 was written by Jiménez and novelist playwright Olivier Demongel, who also worked on Jiménez's film Novembre about the terrorist attacks in France that happened in 2015. Now, this is a book adaptation from the 2022 book by novelist and playwright Laurent Godet, who seems well known, has won awards. I have not actually read anything that he's written, but I was looking through the wiki and it looks pretty interesting. The film is an action thriller about a dystopian France, and I'll give you a bit of backstory about like what's going on in this world and how it's kind of built up before we get into the characters. So in 2045, Paris is divided into kind of three zones. So there's zone 1, which is reserved for like the elite and kind of government types. There's zone 2, which is the wealthier people, and one of our characters falls into that. And then there's zone 3, which is kind of outside of Paris, and the poorest people live there. And now the population is sort of, they have to wear bracelets, and the wearing of said bracelets, like identity bracelets that are kind of technological, is monitored by the police. And if you don't have one, they're going to pull you over and it's like a huge fine. You could lose your job. It's pretty bad. And everything seems to be kind of filtered through another kind of technology, an artificial intelligence named ALMA, which does a lot of other things, but primarily in this film assists law enforcement in their investigations and identifications of a subject. So when Georges Kessel, the inventor of ALMA, is murdered, like within the first couple of minutes of the film, suspicion falls on a guy called John Mafram, who is an opponent of ALMA, and he is the leader of this like anarchist group who's kind of sprung up called Break Walls. Break Walls are against pretty much everything ALMA does and stands for. They don't believe that there should be bracelets to kind of be able to identify people. They don't believe that artificial intelligence should be in charge of everything. Honestly, they make some pretty good points. And they kind of do these like edgy little videos that are like, you know, they're all wearing hoodies and Mafram's doing little monologues to camera. But the film's main stars are played by, firstly, and I'm probably going to butcher these French names, so I'm sorry in advance, Gilles Lelouch, who was also in Back Nord, as well as dozens and dozens of films, which has made him a big star in France. My favourite of these titles, which, because I haven't seen any of them, are My Life is Not a Romantic Comedy, which is just a fantastic title. Apparently that was the film that kind of propelled him into sort of a bigger public sphere. And Dali, which is spelled exactly how I said it, with 6 A's and an exclamation mark. It's obviously about Dali, and it is called like a fake biopic, an absurdist, which I've immediately added it to my to watch list because it sounds fantastic. So Gilles Lelouch plays Zem Brecht, a cop from Zone 3, so remember that's the poorer people, who gets drawn into this investigation of Kessel's death, alongside a cop from Zone 2, Salia Malberg, who's played by Adele Exarchopoulos, who you will probably have known from films like 2013's Blue is the Warmest Colour. I have not seen that because of the queer-sploitation controversy about how the actresses were treated in it, as well as she's been in many other things, but 2 films which were on my best of the century so far list, which is pretty incredible because I was very stringent about that. 2023's Passages and 2022's The Five Devils. Now, Salia and Zem are very unlikely bedfellows given their differences and the fact that one is Zone 2 and one is Zone 3, but they are forced to work together on this investigation. And when they discover quite early on that Jean Mafram did not kill or order the killing of ALMA's creator, George Kessel, the investigation really starts going off the rails, because who did kill Kessel and why, and just how deep does the corruption run? Now, ALMA, the AI, is maybe one of the most interesting things about the film, at least to begin with. The police use it as a kind of chat GPT, which is horrible, asking ALMA to produce details about suspects and run simulations on what might have happened at crime scenes based on the evidence that they provided. It's honestly creepy to see how normalised this is, especially when early on in a briefing with her team, Salia mentions that ALMA has produced 3 scenarios and has selected one as the most likely, kind of percentage-wise. Neither Salia or anyone else even questions that something else might have happened, and nobody offers like alternate theories or like tweak. No one's like, oh, well, that seems right, but apart from this, maybe he could have come from this. They just all kind of accept it. Now, it's really difficult to review this film without spoiling the plot, so I can't say too much more. What I can say is I enjoyed it immensely. It's well acted, the world building feels plausible and horrifying. The zones are all presented very differently. There's kind of poor, ragged souls wandering around Zone 3 and just trying to do their best. They're just like regular people to the very poor. And you can see this kind of reflected in Zembrecht's basic apartment, where he keeps getting all this milk delivered and he can't seem to, for some reason, get the delivery app to stop delivering him milk, which is quite funny. And Salia's own home is much more expensive and designer looking. It's big glass windows with a great view, more technology in the apartment and so on. But that also doubles as this really nice way to enhance the feeling of this world. Like, that the tech is so integrated and so kind of tied up with wealth and power that people no longer question it being there, which can be the detriment to everybody when you just kind of accept it. Now, the director seems to have made some really interesting choices in the adaptation, given that the AI, which is, as I said, a huge feature of this film, some might even say the cornerstone of the entire premise, apparently isn't in the original book. Like, I don't know what on earth was the original book about if not this, because this is kind of the whole underlying point of it. I will be forced to go and read the book to find out. But if you are somewhere where the French Film Festival 33 is happening, I urge you to go and see all of the films that you can, especially L'Étranger, which we saw recently and loved. But also, I really do think that Chien 51 deserves a look in here. It's not often that we see something like this that's not like a huge Hollywood blockbuster in the same kind of way, and it's dealt with well. We really kind of feel for these characters. We want them to succeed, but at the same time, they're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to kind of not necessarily be like big guns blazing heroes. I really liked it, and I think you will too.